Idaho is suing the federal government. Hey, what's up? It's Benj here with Triple Cord Real Estate, bringing you the latest on the Boise housing market and all kinds of other things related to living here in the Treasure Valley. So if you want to keep current with that, hit the subscribe button and the bell so you don't miss out on future videos. So in this video, I wanted to bring you up to speed with what has been happening lately here in the Treasure Valley. I got a few stories to highlight. The first is the 3 lawsuits that Idaho is engaged in challenging the federal vaccine mandates. Secondly, I want to talk about some of the solutions that Idaho has proposed to combat the supply chain crisis that we've seen over the past several weeks and months. And then at the end, I'll talk about where Idaho stands economically. And the numbers are actually really good, so stick around to the end for that. So Idaho is engaged in 3 lawsuits challenging the federal vaccine mandates. The first one is against the mandate for the federal contractors. Now, according to the executive order, all businesses who have contracts with the federal government have to have all of their employees vaccinated against COVID. Now, in Idaho's view, this is unconstitutional. If the federal government wants to change the rules for procuring federal contractors, they actually have to change the legislation. They can't just issue an executive order, which is what Joe Biden did back in September. Also, Idaho thinks that this is a violation of the 10th Amendment. According to the 10th Amendment, all power that is not explicitly given to the federal government by the Constitution is given to the states. Now, vaccine mandates are not mentioned in the Constitution, so according to the 10th Amendment, the power to implement any kind of a mandate or health warning for the states belongs to the states. The second lawsuit that Idaho is engaged in challenges the use of OSHA to force all employers who have more than 100 employees in their businesses to require their employees to get vaccinated. In Idaho's view, this is a gross government overreach, and it's a big one because it could actually affect you if you work for a company that has more than 100 employees. Now, in Idaho's view, there's 3 reasons why this is unconstitutional. Number 1, the power to make or enforce vaccine mandates belongs to the states, not to the federal government. Number 2, OSHA was never designed to implement a vaccine mandate. COVID, the virus, is not an agent, a substance, or a hazard that is specific to the workplace. OSHA stands for Occupational Safety and Health Act, and it's designed to ensure that there's not personal injuries or illnesses that arise out of workplace situations. And that's key. In other words, if you work for a construction company, OSHA is designed to ensure that the employees have hard hats and steel-toed boots so that they're not injured in that specific situation. COVID, on the other hand, is not specific to the workplace, and therefore enforcing a vaccine mandate for all employees across all of the United States is outside of the jurisdiction of OSHA. And then finally, Idaho thinks that a one-size-fits-all mandate for all companies that have more than 100 employees is stripping the states of their sovereignty. This is power that belongs to the states and not to the federal government. Now, there might be some good news here. It seems that OSHA has heard some of these objections from Idaho and other states. As of September 17th, OSHA has said that they will suspend the implementation of the vaccine mandate for companies that have more than 100 employees. And then finally, Idaho is challenging the federal vaccine mandate for all healthcare workers across all healthcare facilities across the United States. And if we can just summarize all 3 of these lawsuits, it really comes down to this. The federal government is violating the state's sovereignty and is implementing a one-size-fits-all solution for everybody across the United States. Do you have a legitimate reason not to get vaccinated? Maybe you have a medical exemption, or maybe you have a religious objection, or maybe you believe that America was founded on the principle of liberty. Doesn't matter, you do what we say, no objections, you have to submit to our mandates. This is what the federal government is saying, and this is what Idaho is objecting to. So this massive debacle in handling the pandemic has led to a disruption in supply chain. So Idaho has joined 14 other governors to provide some solutions to these disruptions. Right now, there are 7.4 million people who are unemployed in the United States, but there's 10.4 million jobs that are available. So it's not a job shortage that we're experiencing. It's a red tape issue. And specifically, we have a shortage of about 80,000 truck drivers, which is an all-time high for the industry. And this has led to a disruption in the supply chain. Let me give you just a few examples. Disruptions on essential products, plastics, semiconductors, and cardboards have increased by 638% in the first half of 2021. Shipping vessels last year were delayed by about 14 hours on average. This year, in September of 2021, the average is 13 days. And then supermarkets today are receiving about 40% of what they order. Typically, that number is at about 90%. So we're definitely experiencing a supply chain disruption. And so what Idaho and 14 other governors have proposed is to cut some of the red tape for truck drivers in order to make it easier for more truck drivers to enter into the workforce. So here's what they're proposing to do at the state level. Number one, they want to make it easier to modify the weight, the size, and the load restrictions for truck drivers as they transfer their goods across the United States. They also want to adjust the hours to make less restraints on the truck drivers. And if I'm reading this correctly, I think they're asking to extend the hours that the truck drivers are allowed to drive each day. And then finally, they also want to deregulate the education requirements so as to allow more truck drivers to enter into the industry. Now, they're also asking to change some things at the federal level, and here are some of the things that they're asking for. Number one, they're calling on Joe Biden to suspend some of the federal and outdated requirements for entering into the truck driving business. Specifically, they want to reduce the age from 21 down to 18. They're also calling on Joe Biden to suspend the burdensome requirement to have all truck drivers vaccinated against COVID-19. They're also calling on Joe Biden to cut some of the red tape in the transportation industry. And then finally, they're also asking him to stop spending trillions of dollars. So this is something that Idaho and 14 other governors have signed on to. It's known as Operation Open Roads. And we'll have to see moving forward if it actually has an effect on the trucking industry and the supply chain crisis that we've seen over the past several weeks. And then finally, some updates on what has actually been happening here in Idaho. The COVID cases seem to be going down, so that's good news. Up until recently, all of our hospitals had a crisis standard of care in place. That was just removed several days ago after about 67 days or so of caring only for emergencies. So the numbers are going down. We're moving in the right direction on that front. That's all good news. And then some numbers just came out regarding the economics of Idaho, and they're really good. You probably already know, but Idaho is the most deregulated state in the country. During Governor Brad Little's first year in office, he sliced 75% of the red tape. So that has steadily been going down even since then. We've increased our lead as far as being the most deregulated state. The second most deregulated state is South Dakota. They have about 43,000 restrictions. Idaho has 35,000 restrictions, down from 39,000 that we had last year. Now, just to give you an idea of where we compare to some of our neighboring states, Washington had 197,000 restrictions in 2020. In 2021, that increased to 200,000. Oregon went from 200,000 to 205,000. And the most regulated state is, you guessed it, California. They come in at a whopping 399,556 restrictions. You can't do anything in California. And the second most regulated state in the country is, you guessed it, New York. So Idaho is the least regulated state in the country, and it affects us economically. We are ranked number 4 for the lowest unemployment rates. Currently, our unemployment rate is 2.8%. Now, interestingly, if you look at the top 10 states for lowest unemployment rates, all 10 of them are run by Republican governors. These governors are promoting low taxes, less red tape, and that is translating into stronger economies. Idaho recently reached a AAA credit rating, which is a first in Idaho history. So good job to Governor Little. But can we do better? Perhaps, probably every state can do a little bit better, But you'll get to decide sooner than later. The governor's elections are coming up next year. I will say this, though, that the lieutenant governor was able to get the coveted endorsement by Donald Trump. I know Governor Little was hoping to get that endorsement, but Janice McGeachin, the lieutenant governor, got that endorsement from Donald Trump several months ago, I think it was. So we'll have to see if that will actually lead to her getting elected next year at about this time. But I'll be sure to give you more updates on that as we get closer to the elections. Hey, if you've enjoyed this video, do me a favor and hit the like button. This lets YouTube know that people are enjoying the video, and it allows it to get out to more people like you.